What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie. We're back. We just watched the F1 sprint race.
Facts.
So we're just gonna do a little recap, share our
talk
thoughts
about
and
it a
feelings.
little bit. Yeah.
And then we're just gonna get into it. So
yeah,
Millie,
facts. So
yeah,
sprint race weekend. Down in Miami, the weather was nice. It was a hot weekend or a hot day, I guess so far. The sprint race happened. It was 19 laps, a little bit of action,
it was quick.
Yeah, it went by really quickly.
Really fast.
I think overall, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was all right. It wasn't action-packed per se. I think the action was really condensed into maybe like the first 6 to 10 laps.
Yeah, definitely at the beginning you had mentioned it was intense. It was like really drawing you in. But then, kind of like died off as everyone got settled into their positions.
Facts. Yeah, we saw a little moment where like Lewis, Max, and one of the Alpine drivers were 3 across, and obviously that led to some contact between like
crazy.
The Alpine driver who made contact with Max, and then Max who made contact with Lewis.
Yeah.
So obviously Lewis was forced off the track in that instance as well. That was kind of like the most heart-wrenching moment of the race.
Scary.
I think obviously that was a mad scary moment, seeing 3 cars across in a very tight space.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And also just seeing like the contact is always like nail biting. I'm like, oh,
definitely. And I think it definitely highlights like these vehicles that they're using this year, with the regulation changes. I think it shows that the cars can literally like make contact, and it's not going to be the end of somebody's race. And I do think that is an improvement in the system, an improvement that we probably wouldn't have seen previously, like last year.
Yeah, that's valid. And I feel like you had also mentioned during the race too, like how much more space the cars had because they are a little bit more compact.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely have more space to maneuver. I mean, there were some tight areas of the track which definitely were like single file areas, but overall, like I definitely think in some of those larger areas, that's when we saw like the passing, the back and forth. So there was a little bit of a tussle between the Mercedes. We saw them kind of deeper in the pack today, so they didn't have their same level of dominance
that
they had before the break.
At the front again.
Yeah, so obviously the sprint race ended in a McLaren 1-2.
Of course.
The reigning world champion Lando Norris got the dub. He was in first place from start to finish. Really comfortable race for him. I mean, he was quick. No one was getting anywhere close to him. We saw Piastri fall off a little bit, which gave Leclerc a chance. He was getting a little bit closer, but again, like the Ferrari just wasn't quite there. Wasn't quite ready to take that next step. But big ups to Leclerc for beating both of the Mercedes in getting that last podium spot, because he's definitely keeping Ferrari in the running, which I do think is important.
Definitely sad to see Lewis.
I mean, I personally, Lewis obviously he finished 7th, not ideal, not where he wants to be, not where we want him to be, obviously. But I think there were upgrades brought to the Ferrari. They brought in some of the most upgrades of any team.
Wow.
They tried out the new wing as well, and they're using that in the sprint today. I don't know. I wonder if there was a little bit of damage to Lewis's car after the contact with Max.
That's a good point.
Because after making contact with Max, and then after Max ran Lewis off the road a couple laps later, and then tried a little cheeky position, switch, whatever. It just seemed like Lewis like really fell off. Like he wasn't able to keep back up with Max, wasn't able to keep that distance. And so I wonder if there was some damage to the car at that point. Because I don't know. I just felt like his pace really fell off after that.
I know. Yeah, it is pretty surprising. Do you think like the heat from the day might have had anything to do with like the tires, or I don't really know how any of that impacts the race, to be honest.
I mean, it's tough, because the sprint is exactly that, it's
like
a
there's
sprint,
there's
no pits, no anything, just straight racing.
Right.
So I don't really know exactly.
Everyone's tires probably would have been degrading at the same time.
And you could see like later in the race, later in the sprint, cars were kind of sliding around and people were drifting around corners a little bit. So you could definitely get a gauge for that degradation. But again, like his pace fell off so much from Max. And it got down to like 4 seconds at one point.
Oh, wow.
And so I was just like, maybe something isn't right with the car. But again, we didn't really hear anything over the radio. So
I know we didn't hear anything from Lewis.
It was just Just tough, kind of an annoying one. Like there was a time where he was really closing the gap to the Mercedes and was really pushing on the back of Russell.
I know.
And then at that point, that was when Max was also closing the distance. And so, yeah, that little scuffle with Max set him back massively.
So bad.
And then it was just really hard to regain that ground. So
yeah, especially after Max ran him off the road.
Exactly. They lost so much time to the Mercedes at that point. So, just pretty frustrating to see. I know that, you know, for Max, this is really the only time he gets to race is when he's racing up against like Lewis. It's the only time he seems to enjoy driving his car is when he's competing with the greatest ever. So I guess that makes sense from Max's perspective. But again, like from Lewis's perspective, it's obviously frustrating. Like I'm sure he feels frustrated, you know, knowing that he got the upgrades to the car, but still not being able to fully close that distance to the Mercedes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's frustrating for him. So yeah, that's kind of all. I mean, the sprint, it ended basically the way it started.
Yeah.
There were a few scuffles, but yeah, I just really hope that Lewis and Ferrari can bring some more pace to qualifying to put Lewis in a little bit of a better position for tomorrow's race. Because I would love to see him get to the podium and be up there. You know, that's what we're always hoping for. But overall, you know, he got points. Ferrari, obviously, with Charles on the podium, got some good points. So, and a good podium place for Charles as well, behind the McLarens, who obviously their upgrades were successful too. So yeah, let's just see what happens in qualifying. Keep staying positive. I think Lewis has a lot more to bring. I think we're going to see that next level brought out in qualifying. And yeah, I really hope that he can get a little bit closer to those podium positions. And yeah, that's all we can hope for. See. Yeah, that's what we hope. So so that was our thoughts on today's F1 sprint race down in Miami.
If you made it this far, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.